Just like our imperial to imperial conversions, we can also convert using the metric system. So I've started you guys out on your sheet. You have some conversions, imperial to imperial, imperial to metric, and metric to metric. So several of these show up more than once in one form. So for instance, we have 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers, but then we have 1 kilometer and its corresponding miles. So we could use either one of those if we're doing a conversion from miles to kilometers or vice versa. So we're going to jump straight into the word problems on these and use these conversions to answer these questions. Still going to use that dimensional analysis, so where our units on top are going to cancel our units on the bottom. So this first question, we actually have two ways of calculating it, because we have a driver and a bridge, and we want to know, will the truck, the trailer, fit underneath the bridge? So we could either convert the 3.5 meters into feet, so we can see that it fits under or doesn't fit under, as the case may be, the bridge. Or we can convert the bridge, the feet, back to meters. So it really doesn't matter which way you pick to do this one. Either way is going to work. So I'm actually going to show both ways. So we can either, right, I've got a big or in there for a reason, take our 3.5 meters, and then we see that if we're looking to convert meters to feet, 1 meter is 3.281 feet. So meters cancels meters, we're left with 11.48 feet. On the other side, so you would do one or other of these, not necessarily both. So if your other option, if you prefer it, take that feet and convert it to meters, and I actually used this version right here. So 1 foot times, our feet times 0.3048 meters gives us 4.572 meters. Now, regardless of which way we're looking at this, we're wanting to see, does the 11.48 foot vehicle fit under the 15-foot bridge? Or the other way to say that is, does the 3.5 meter vehicle fit under the 4.572 meter bridge? Either way, we can see, yes, the vehicle fits. So Aunt Mabel, 5 feet 3 inches tall, and she needs to convert this number to centimeters to see if they've got it right on her driver's license. So if we're converting to centimeters, we start by taking those feet, and we can get a little closer to centimeters by going to inches. I think I may have had a conversion that went all the way from feet to centimeters, but we can do it in 2 steps, we can do it in 1, doesn't matter. So feet cancels feet, inches cancels inches. The 5 feet portion of her height works out to 152.4 centimeters, but she's not just 5 feet tall, she's also 5 feet 3 inches. So we take her 3 inches and figure that one out in centimeters. Now, to find her height, we're going to have to add her 5 feet plus the 3 inches, or in other words, the 152.4 plus the 7.62. So it works out that to the nearest centimeter, she's 160 centimeters. The estimation question, to justify the answer is reasonable. The textbook spends a fair bit of time with these estimation questions. Not something I would typically ask you on a test, but it is a way of checking, are you on the right track? So for me, I might estimate this by saying, well, I'm just a little bit taller than Aunt Mabel, and I know my height in both feet and inches, and it actually works out so that, yep, I'm just a little bit taller than Aunt Mabel. On the other hand, you might not be close to her height, so you might be saying to yourself, oh, I know those rulers that you can get are 30 centimeters or 1 foot. So if I know that, if she's 5 feet, that would be about 150 centimeters. She's a little taller, so yeah, it seems reasonable. So in the textbook, when they're asking for those sorts of questions, that's all they're talking about, is being able to check that you're in the right ballpark. So if you make some terrible mistake, you're going to catch that. So the bowling lane, 62 feet, 10 and 3/16 of an inch long. What is the measurement to the nearest centimeter? So this one again, I took my feet and converted to centimeters, and I see this time I did the one-step one. So feet cancels feet, we're left with centimeters. And then I added, I'm missing a piece of information here, because I don't have what that equals. So that's 1889.76 centimeters. Then when we take the inches part of this, again, you can change those inches into a decimal equivalent. So the 3/16 is 0.1875. Convert that to centimeters. And then we can add those two together. So the 1889, and again, I see I didn't say what that equals. That's going to be 25.87625 centimeters. So now we can add those two up to get the total alley length. And the alley is 1,916 centimeters to the nearest centimeter. So that is rounded. But the question did say to the nearest centimeter. So, fun fact, Sate has a bowling alley. I'd tell you to go see it if Sate was open. It's near the gym, in case you're wondering, where does Sate have a bowling alley? You can rent it for parties when Sate is not closed for a COVID crisis. Next question is one where, like the trucker question, there's two ways to get to it. So we know two pieces of information here. Prices for material in dollars per meter and prices of material in dollars per yard. So if we're looking at which one's the better price, we need to convert those to the same units. So we could go either direction, put them yards to meters or put the meters to yards. And last time I did this with my class, they said, take the one that's meters and convert it to yards. So we did that. Now this is a little bit tricky because my $1.09 per meter, the meter I want to get rid of is in the bottom. So when we're converting something that is a composite measurement like this, another example would be kilometers per hour, be careful with where you're moving those units. Because if those units are in the bottom and you want to cancel them in your conversion factor, they're going to end up in the top, right? So that meters can cancel meters are on the opposite side of the equation. So it works out that that first piece of ribbon works out to $1 a yard when we round it to the nearest cent, which makes sense for something that we're paying money for. So if we compare, that one works out to $1 per yard, so it's going to be cheaper than the online price in this particular case. Sometimes those shipping costs really make things cost more, right? Although these are pretty close. Next example, another one where we could go either direction. So we've got a Stampede ride where you have to be 122 centimeters to get on it. We've got two kids here that are different heights. One is 4 foot 2 inches, the other's 3 feet 11 inches. Can they both get on the ride? Well, I could either convert my 122 centimeters to feet and inches, or I can convert my two heights to centimeters. So since converting the two heights would be two whole separate calculations versus converting the centimeters is just one, I'm going to take the shorter way and convert the centimeters. But the other would work as well. So we take those centimeters, convert to inches, we get a value in inches. We need to be in feet and inches, so we can take those inches, multiply to get 4 feet. It does round down to 4 feet. So we can see that that falls in between Johnny's height and Sarah's height. So Johnny gets to go on the ride, but Sarah cannot. Now, as I mentioned, you could have done it the other direction. So if you want to try it the other direction, I've got the answers here for you. Johnny's height, 4 foot 2 inches, works out to 127 centimeters. Sarah's height works out to 119 centimeters. It still works out though. Johnny's taller than the limit, Sarah's shorter. Now I threw in another one of these questions where we're going to multiple units, yards, feet, and inches, so that's not 3 separate calculations or 3 separate answers. It's one question looking for one answer with those 3 units. So the 4.75 meters, first we can convert it to yards. And this time we're going backwards from what we did before, because the earlier questions where we had yards, feet, and inches, we were starting out in inches. Now we're starting out at a large unit and working to the smaller one. So we can just take this decimal portion, so drop off the 5 and leave the 1946 yards and figure that part out in feet. And we can see it works out to not even a whole foot. We take the decimal portion there, so if it was more than a whole foot, we would still just take the decimal portion and figure out what that works out to inches. So the 5 that we dropped off stays as our yard. The 0 that we dropped off stays our feet, and our final answer gives us our inches. So we were kind of working backwards on that one compared to the earlier one where we started at inches and put a value into feet and inches. So there's our examples of converting using imperial and metric within one question.